On Tuesday, Shabbat came in early. Sitting in my office on Tuesday afternoon, there were walls of water that pelted our windows and banished the noonday sun. And here, at exactly 1:26 or so, we experienced what a million other folks in Toronto did as well. Boom. On came the generator. On came that soft buzz of emergency power. But the workday was over. And thankfully, so too was the storm. And I took my family home on what had suddenly, out of nowhere, become a bright, hot July day. And as we walked into our home, I was thrust back more than a decade to my first year living in Jerusalem, when I was studying at the Pardes Institute for Jewish Studies and living with my roommate Sean in Israel. And our home was Shomer Kashrut, which is to say that we kept a very strict set of kosher laws. And it was Shomer Shabbat, which is to say that we kept the strictest Orthodox observance of Shabbat. We did not use our phones, we did not use the internet, we did not use any cooking, although we had a blecht to warm up food. We did not turn on and off electricity. We used little clock timers that we preset, and we left a lot of lights on. And walking into my home on Tuesday, looking at a light switch that would not work, a phone that would not connect to the internet, a stove that could not get warm, a computer that would not turn on, I was like, here I am again. Like a little part of my Shabbat in that tiny little Jerusalem apartment on Derech Beit Lechem had just picked up, flown halfway around the world, and landed in Toronto. And rather than panicking or feeling like I was lost adrift without all of those lovely things that normally make my home so easy and comfortable, I leaned into that feeling, that memory. Because with no phone, or internet, or video, or email, I did what I always used to do on Shabbat in those days. I found a book. And right now, I am reading Mati Friedman's Who by Fire, Leonard Cohen in the Sinai. And you likely know Mati Friedman. You may even actually know him. He grew up that way. He's a regular contributor to the New York Times and Tablet and the Times of Israel, and his book is about the Yom Kippur War and the lost concerts that Leonard Cohen gave to the soldiers fighting the Egyptians in the Sinai. It's about a lot more than that, of course. I highly recommend it. And book in hand, I found a patch of sunlight, and I sat down in relative silence to enjoy the good company of my family and the beautiful words on the page. Now, one of the great differences between a decade ago and today is that today I am a parent, which means that I should count myself quite lucky that I managed to get through a chapter of my book. And that's when the dollhouse lost all of its appeal and "Abba, I'm bored," kicked in. But that too turned out to be a blessing, a little slice of Shabbat, because we saddled her up on her bike, training wheels and all, and put a bright orange helmet on her head, and we took a leisurely walk through our neighborhood towards the park and the playground. And once again, I could not shake the similarities to Shabbat in Jerusalem. Our neighborhood here in Toronto is not shy. People are regularly out and about. They're friendly, they're very neighborly, and that was only enhanced by the outage. Parents and their children were walking and biking and rolling and toddling towards the various communal green spaces, and our neighbors were sitting on porches, sipping drinks filled to the brim with ice because the freezers were off and they needed to do that before the ice melted. And at the park, children chased each other in various stages of undress, while the parents, this may shock you, actually had conversations with their partners or with their neighbors, and no one was looking at a screen because not a one of us could get the internet. Even the sound of traffic was minimal because with the stoplights out, nobody wanted to get on the road. Humewood could have been Rehavia. It could have been talpiot on a Shabbat afternoon, and the schoolyard was filled with deep puddles of fresh mud, happy, screaming children, and it could have been Gan Sacher, the big park at the bottom of the hill in Jerusalem that's always a muddy mess after a storm. The little walk we took felt so much like the strolls that I used to take up and down David HaMelech, moments which felt like they took forever then and are still etched into my mind because there was no pressure of time. There was no place to be. There was nothing to get done. Just an uninterrupted moment between parent, child, partner, community. What the power outage and Shabbat shared is the good moment when you realize that barring some terrible emergency, no one can reach you. And what makes it meaningful is the corresponding realization that nobody needs to reach you right now either. That everything you need for at least this one moment is right in front of you. It is the sudden and willful departure from what we are always so used to, that feeling of needing to be connected, needing to be accessible, needing to be informed, needing to respond to everything immediately. A small Shabbat came early on Tuesday, as if to remind us of Shabbat's vital importance to our lives, to reinforce in a week that was filled with worldly problems that are beyond any of our individual capacities to solve, that there is life right in front of us that needs attention and appreciation. That things not going to plan and interruptions to our schedule and inconveniences can actually be chances. Chances to build and rebuild the things that we've been meaning to put our time into, but somehow we've always let our other priorities overwhelm. And when this small Shabbat left, it reinforced the point even more, because it did not depart with the glow of the candle, the smell of the spice, the taste of the wine, but with the disorienting and sudden whir, flicker, buzz, pop of our house and our phones and our city and our world roaring, lurching back. It can be so easy to forget that message, that sweet, special few hours of a Shabbat that came unexpectedly. And even more so, once we saw the most surreal visions of our city submerged beneath rain. I will close with this. A little small defense and aside to those of you who right now are thinking, Rabbi, it was a power outage. Our ancient sages, in the days of the Mishnah, created a concept called Plag HaMincha. Plag HaMincha is the zone of time when we can say it's enough like the evening that now you can say nighttime prayers and start the new day, even though the sun has not yet set. And the rabbis debate this subject fiercely. That, like all the best Jewish arguments, they also don't come up with an answer. Some of them say, nah, that's not possible. You can only pray your nighttime prayers at night. And others say, look, if you're in the zone, this Plag HaMincha, you can say your evening prayers before the sun actually goes down. But on this subject, they agree. No matter what you choose, that's what you stick with. You need to be one or the other. You can't be a flip-flopper. Both of them can be kosher, but if you're an evening person, you're an evening person. And if you're Plag HaMincha, you're Plag HaMincha. With one glaring exception: Shabbat. On Shabbat, our sages write, we are so eager, we are so ready to reach into this sacred moment that even if you're someone who only ever says the day starts after nightfall, you can start Shabbat as early as you would like, as quickly as you would desire. So you are right, my friends who say it was just a power outage on Tuesday. No tiny Shabbats. You're right. We can confidently say that there has never been a Talmudic sage that argues that Shabbat begins on Tuesday, and there's certainly never been a Talmudic sage that says Shabbat only lasts until your power comes back on. But I want you to remember that our rabbis have also taught us now, for the better part of 2,000 years, that when a Jew needs it, Shabbat does and can come early. Shabbat Shalom.